live stream car review is all about the 2026 Hyundai Elantra in the luxury hybrid trim level. Now this vehicle, despite what you may have seen online, the 2026 model is not spaceship-like, it is not crazy futuristic, it does not look insane. Those are all renderings. The 2026 model is actually a carryover, and it will be the last year or last model year that the Hyundai Elantra looks like this. Now it's still a fantastic vehicle at a great price point, and today's video is all about what we get specifically in the hybrid luxury trim. So it's a live stream car review. We're doing this in real time with no script. Let's get right into it. First, we'll start off on the exterior, where we'll also talk powertrain. We'll mention the color, and of course, we'll answer your questions too. The best part about doing this live is the fact that you have a separate chat box, your viewers, and you can ask me questions towards the end of the video. I'll dedicate a few minutes towards going over those said questions. All right, Adam will grab the camera, and we'll get right into it, starting off with the front end of the vehicle. Now, the paint we have here today is called Intense Blue, and I don't know about you, but I think it is rather intense. It's a very bright, vibrant blue that, in more overcast conditions, has a more subtle tone to it. The paint itself is a metallic flake, so under sunlight, you will notice a little bit of sparkle, some dimension, which I do love in a paint. For your headlamps, we have full LEDs. That'll be for your daytime running lamps, but also the main headlamp unit itself too. When you hop on over to the highest trim level Hyundai Elantra, which before we get into N territory would be the N-Line Ultimate, that's where we get a projector style full LED. So while these aren't projectors, they still give you a sharp, clear line of vision. And of course, LEDs also last a lot longer and burn more efficiently. For the design of the front end, it's true Elantra. The hybrid doesn't have any real special styling designation, so it kind of hides under the radar. You get more efficiency though. They don't need to know that. Now for our front grille and our accents, you'll notice we have a little bit of satin chrome running along the upper line. Then the grille itself is finished in a nice semi-gloss black, so it's not entirely matte, almost a bit of a satin. Lower on, in our lower grille, you'll notice we have this rectangular plate. Now this does a lot for your vehicle. It'll be our smart cruise control, which works in stop and go conditions. All I have to do is turn on my cruise control, set my speed, and then from my steering wheel, I also have a separate button to adjust the following distance. Now there's 4 presets ranging from 1 car length all the way up to 4. And if you hit stop and go traffic, the vehicle does exactly that. It'll slow you down to a stop and then go again. Now what this vehicle will also add is the inclusion of highway driving assist. That means that it'll use navigation data based off the nav system that's in the car to recognize the speed limit of the highway that you're on and if there's any big bends in the road. If it detects a bend or a change in speed, it will adjust automatically. You can turn that off if you want. And it'll also allow a bit more of an intelligent driver experience process. So it's going to recognize the lanes, not just the speed limits, and keep you centered in your lane, working itself into those curves so you're always at a steady pace, a steady distance, and a steady range within your lane. You're not verging over. So the car itself is very smart. It is not an autopilot, but a great driver convenience function. On the topic of styling again, it's not overly done. It's not too much in your face. It is well done. I like the symmetry that we have on the front end. Lots of what Hyundai likes to call parametric design. So it's aggressive, but not overdone, like I mentioned. Powertrain is where the hybrid gets, of course, its specialty. Oh, I almost fell down there, guys. So I can really tell it's live. All right, so with the hybrid powertrain, you'll have a 1.6 liter gasoline direct injection 4-cylinder engine. Now the engine itself is not the only power plant in this car, and that's where hybrid comes into play. We also have a 1.32 kilowatt hour lithium ion polymer battery. That never gets easier to say. And a 32 kilowatt electric motor. Now when these forces work together, we'll get a total horsepower output of 139 and a torque of 195 pound-feet. That is a very healthy torque number, especially compared to the regular gas version of the Hyundai Elantra, which produces 132 pound-feet. So this vehicle will feel like it's got a little bit more go, especially in lower range driving. That can be a bit of a learning curve at first, but you'll also notice you might want to slow down a little bit when you're driving your hybrid. You can really extend the amount of time that this vehicle spends in electric mode. So for example, if I'm driving around a parking lot looking to find a spot, my vehicle is probably not running its engine unless I'm demanding a ton of power from the heat or the air conditioning. There's a good chance when I'm doing lower load driving that I will be in electric mode, not wasting any fuel. We'll talk more about that later when we get to the gas door on this vehicle. Now for transmission, it's automatic in the sense that, of course, there is no clutch pedal for you to press or no gear shift for you to work through, but it is a dual clutch transmission. So what that means is we have two clutches, none of which are operated by your foot exactly. The vehicle will have one dedicated for the odd gears. So in this case, it's a 6-speed. That will be gear 1, 3, and 5. And then your secondary clutch is gear 2, 4, and 6. When one gear is active, let's say gear 3, for example, gear 4 is lined up, ready, and will shift in an instant. So we get lightning quick gear shifts that are also extremely efficient. So that, of course, blends in with our hybrid powertrain to give us optimal efficiency and a smooth drive too. All right, let's talk wheels next. These are 17-inch alloys, aluminum alloys that are stylish in my opinion. We got a bit of a gray finish. I don't know if it looks black on camera, with machined tones too, so nice contrast. Your brakes up at the front will be larger, and they're ventilated disc brakes, and then we have solid disc brakes in the rear. When you do choose the hybrid luxury over the regular luxury, there's a difference. Of course, you have the powertrain change, getting from that regular naturally aspirated 2-liter to that 1.6-liter hybrid, but we'll also have a difference in suspension. So we'll now have an independent, oh my goodness, I was about to say McPherson strut, that's the front. We have a multi-link independent rear suspension exclusive to the hybrid and the N line. Now for our tires, we have an all-season tire that's standard here in Canada, and the Elantra is also exclusively front-wheel drive. So there are no all-wheel drive options, no rear-wheel drive options, simply front wheel. You'll have a minimum ground clearance of 140 millimeters with the hybrid, which is 5 millimeters more than the regular gas version. So a little bit more ground clearance. Nice to see. For your windshield, I'll have Adam pan towards the center where we'll find our forward-facing camera. Now that camera, it's not a dash cam recorder. Instead, it is a part of the active safety functions within the vehicle. So things like your forward collision avoidance. The vehicle's camera will watch ahead of you to monitor for pedestrians, cyclists, and of course other cars. If someone cuts ahead of you, slams on the brakes, and I don't react as a driver, the vehicle will warn me with an audible alert first, and then also brake for me to avoid said collision. All these functions are typically on standard by default, so when you get your vehicle from the dealership, you can shut them off, but for things like collision avoidance, it's usually nice to have them on. You never know. We'll also have things like our lane keeping and lane following assist. Now this is definitely more so a preference-based function, but essentially it uses that camera to watch the lanes. Lane keeping assist will beep at you and kind of give a little bit of gentle correction to guide you back into your lane so you don't veer out. Some people like to compare it to a ping pong effect. It doesn't really keep you centered, it just warns you when you're departing, brings you back. If you depart again, does that. So it doesn't actively see changes and prevent the departure. That's where the secondary function lane follow assist comes in. It sees upcoming curves or bends in the road and steers into them, almost like a cruise control for your lane safety. So two separate functions, you can have one on or the other, have them both off, have them both on. Pretty good. Your mirrors are body color. You get an LED turn signal indicator mounted onto them. For the mirror portion itself, they're also power controlled and heated. A lot of people don't know this. Adam, our cameraman included, today he just learned that our heated windows or heated mirrors are tied into your rear defrost. So a lot of people are familiar with the rear defrost function on their car. I'll point it out when we hop inside. But in most modern vehicles, it's just one button. If you turn on your rear defrost, it automatically turns on your heated mirrors too. So there's no separate button. Don't worry, you probably have heated mirrors in your car. Now, I'll talk about proximity entry too. This vehicle has the ability to unlock and lock the car simply by having the key somewhere on your person. You don't have to pull the key out of your bag or your pocket every single time and find the unlock button. All you do is walk up to it, reach for the handle, and if you do have the key somewhere with you, it'll unlock, and then when you're done driving, you can simply press on the handle again to lock it. Super, super convenient, especially come wintertime where you might be wearing multiple layers and you forgot what pocket your key was in. You'll never have to think about it again. The belt line for your windows are a satin chrome finish, much like what we saw on the front end of the vehicle. And then the window pillars themselves are just a matte black plastic. So I will say this is far more durable than the typical gloss black that you might see on something like our Lotus over there. So while that may look a little bit shinier, a little bit prettier, come wintertime when you got snow brushes or if you like automated car washes, that'll create a ton of micro scratches that are completely visible, especially in the sunlight. This prevents that, so it'll look a little bit nicer in the long run. Coming along to the rear, you'll notice the Elantra has a nice slope back. Almost gives the illusion of a pretty short trunk, but we have a lot of room. We have over 400 liters of cargo space. Now, what does 400 liters look like? Let's see. I have my dad's disgusting hockey bag in here. And as you can see, there is still a ton of space around it. And this bag is full. I won't open it because my nose does not want to experience that. You guys can't smell it through the screen, but oh, also, did I mention we are a dealership and details are standard on all our car purchases. So if you do buy this car, it will be detailed. No hockey bag smell. Tons of space around the bag, as you can see. And then underneath, I'll just point out, while we don't have a proper spare tire, we have a mobility kit. There is, however, a gully for a spare. So if you choose to purchase a spare aftermarket, you will have somewhere to put it that won't obstruct your typical cargo space. So that is very handy. A mobility kit is essentially an inflator with a sealant. So you'll plug in your inflator, mount the sealant bottle on the top, and not only will it add air into your tire, it'll add that sealant mixture too, essentially plugging whatever puncture your tire had. So while that is helpful if you picked up a nail and you're starting to lose pressure, it's not helpful if you experience a full tire blowout because that can't necessarily replace a blown tire. So spare might be a good purchase if you are someone who drives in Ontario where we have lots of construction, lots of road debris. The rear of the vehicle, I'll hit the brake lights and the hazard lights so you can see the lighting sequences. We have a mix of regular bulbs and LEDs for the tails. There we are. And then I'll hit the hazards too. Adam, do you mind walking around? Sorry guys, I just gotta catch my breath for a second and probably grab a drink of water. All right, I'm back. I just lost my breath. The car took my breath away. All right, let's talk fuel efficiency real quick. So it's 4.7 liters per 100 kilometers, which is a best-in-class fuel efficiency. If you're curious about the class, this is a compact sedan. So pricing was one thing that was a little strange on this vehicle. The MSRP, as per the window sticker, is $31,749. That's before taxes and fees. And then including the freight tax, we do have a price point of $33,649. Now that is a slight increase from last year, although it is still a carryover model year. That is typical practice. Before we end off today's video, I will mention to you guys what our expectations are for the upcoming Hyundai Elantra. Now for a fuel tank, it is a 42-liter tank, which is slightly smaller than our regular gas versions of the Hyundai Elantra. However, you will go further on a full tank with the hybrid. The hybrid itself is also a $2,500 add-on from the regular luxury trim level. Now, depending on what your lifestyle is like and how much you drive, as far as fuel savings go, you can make up that difference in a few years, maybe even less, again, depending on how much you drive. I will say the hybrid, in my opinion, is very much worth it. You get all the goodies of the luxury trim with a much more efficient powertrain. With that being said, the regular Elantra is still very efficient, so if you were looking at an introductory model with a much lower MSRP, that might be more worth it to just get the straight gas version. But if you wanted a nicely equipped or just a few extra bells and whistles and you wanted the luxury, I would say splurge for the luxury hybrid. Now as far as our interior goes, you'll notice we have leatherette seating. We'll have heated seats up at the front with 3 different levels for both driver and passenger, and both seats will also be manual adjustments. For our door card, we have our speaker design, which I always thought the Hyundai Elantra did a great job of. Not only does the design look good, but it's also a premium audio system, being Bose with 8 speakers and an external amplifier. Your door card itself has a nice soft touch material. This isn't a leatherette material, it's more so a cloth with a nice lighter gray stitching for contrast, and then the handles have a satin chrome finish. Your driver's window is an express window, so 1 touch to go down, 1 pull to go up. And then we have our trunk release, as well as our fuel door release mounted by the driver foot area. Along the knee, We have our brightness adjustment, a 12-volt battery reset, and our traction control. I might actually hit the 12-volt battery reset because, as you can see, the vehicle went to sleep. All right, I'm going to grab the camera from Adam while he joins me on the passenger side, and we'll talk steering wheel. This steering wheel is one of my favorites in the Hyundai lineup. It is so comfortable to drive with. This one in particular does have the leather finish with the heated control, so we do have nice hand warmth, which minimizes the need for gloves in the cabin. On the left-hand side, we have our media controls, so voice commands, volume for your audio, whatever you're listening to, and then our star, as well as our phone button. Phone button, of course, will be to answer calls or pull up your phone menu, and then the star button can be programmed to whatever you like. The right-hand side is where we'll find our driver assistance. So this top right button will be to turn on or off our smart cruise control, which automatically defaults to highway driving assist if you're on a recognized highway. You'll set your speed with the plus and minus, and then set the following distance with this button here. It's a little hard for the camera to focus on what that looks like, but essentially it's a little car with a few lines beneath it. That is, of course, each time you press it, it'll cycle to the next available following distance. To the left, we have our button to turn on or off our lane following and lane keeping assist, and then this notepad button here will adjust what's displayed on our gauge cluster. This cluster is a 10.25-inch fully digitized display. On the left-hand side, of course, you can see your speedometer. Then on the right, we don't have the typical tachometer. Instead, this is our Eco Power Band, so it'll show when your vehicle is largely being efficient and using a good force of electric power. And then when we're in more so of the power band range, that will be a lot more gasoline engine power. I'm going to keep getting that warning because we're running the vehicle in accessory mode. Let's cycle between our middle screen. You can see your lane safety, your current trip, and of course you can cycle through this to see since refueling or since last reset. There's also the current vehicle mode, so this will show if the vehicle is running power from the battery, if it's regaining power through electric regenerative braking, or if it's running the engine. This is our digital speedometer if you would like to have an accurate reading of your exact speed. The bottom will be your current fuel efficiency. So this vehicle hasn't really been driven. What I mean by that is it's got 15 kilometers on it right now. So it hasn't spent its life really on the road, and it's already still reading at 5 liters per 100 kilometers, which is fantastic. Alrighty, I'll now move the camera back to Adam, where we'll talk about our main center display. Gotta do this quickly because the vehicle will want to shut down. It doesn't like running in accessory mode. It wants me to turn the full car on. Now, the main display is a 10.25-inch touchscreen with integrated navigation as well as Sirius XM. Exclusive to the hybrid will be our hybrid menu, which will show you again your current energy flow, your electric motor use, and your average fuel efficiency. This is really helpful if you're a first-time hybrid driver, just to get an understanding of how you can improve your driving to be more efficient. Now, I will say you can be someone who's pretty heavy on the pedal and still get fantastic numbers out of the Elantra Hybrid. It is really hard to mess up. Now, as far as connection goes for your phone, of course we have Bluetooth with this vehicle, which allows Bluetooth audio and of course to receive calls on the fly, but wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, it's not wireless. It is wired on this vehicle, and that's not necessarily a downside. I had this exact same screen in my previous Kia Forte, and the wired CarPlay was my favorite because it charged my phone without overheating it. The audio quality was better, and if I ever made a hard turn, my phone didn't fly away, and if it did, I could fish it out with the cable that was connected to my car. So it was not inconvenient at all to me. And another thing is if I hop in a vehicle with a friend and let's say my friend wants to stream their audio instead or have their phone connected, if I want to do that, it's as simple as just passing the cord over to them. There's no real pairing process that has to happen. It is very simple. It's also the case if I'm in the car with somebody and I don't want any of my Apple CarPlay things to pop up. I don't have to turn off my Wi-Fi, turn off my Bluetooth, disconnect my phone from the head unit. It's just as simple as unplugging it. That's my little spiel. All right, underneath we have our buttons for our media controls. I'm so thankful we have real physical buttons. So of course they do exactly as they say. Map will jump you to the map. We got a nav, radio, media, and then a proper volume knob in the middle. There's also quick access for seek and track, a programmable favorites button, and our setup, which jumps you right to the setup menu. I will also note the buttons themselves are quite premium. The dial on our volume knob has a nice 3D finish to it, so texture-wise it feels nice. It also looks good. Lots of satin chrome, a little bit of ambient lighting, which you can customize to your set preference. And then underneath, we have our dual climate control. So I, as a driver, can set my temp, my passenger can have theirs separate, or of course, I could shut it off. Your heated seats and heated steering wheel is a proper button. So again, if you are wearing a glove in the cabin, it's not going to mess up, being as it's a screen, so you can respond to any sort of touch, really. Your gear shift, again, while it is mated to a 6-speed dual clutch, it's a regular lever style, so no buttons or dials, just straight up regular handle. We got our drive mode select here, allowing you to switch between eco mode, sport, and smart mode. It also changes the theme of the gauge cluster, which I think is a nice touch. Now let's say you love the look of the sport gauge, but you don't always want to be in sport mode. In the vehicle's head unit, you can adjust it to always be set to one theme, regardless of your current driving mode. You have an electronic parking brake on this vehicle, as well as the auto hold brake function, which holds you at a full stop when active. Releases as soon as you hit the gas pedal. Now this is what our backup camera looks like when it's in action. This will automatically come up. Of course, the car turned off again. Now the backup camera will automatically show up whenever you throw the car into reverse. Guys, one thing I love about running accessory mode is how much beeping we get. But it's okay, it's a live stream, and we're doing this to answer your questions and see what you guys think about the car. Also, let me know if you're sad about the Elantra. If you have one right now and you're sad to see the next generation or the current generation go. I'm excited for what's to come next, and I do have a few little tidbits of information. Nothing official, but lots of speculation that sounds like it could be right. Now up at the top, we do have a power sunroof. It is our typical wide open style, or you can have it tilted. The glass itself is of course powered, with the cover being manual. Over here, we have our interior cabin lights. They're regular bulbs. And then we have our quick SOS button and our tow truck button. So Hyundais have 5 years, unlimited kilometers of roadside assistance all throughout North America. And you do have BlueLink connectivity too. BlueLink is Hyundai's telematics app, so you can start the car from your phone, lock the doors, check if any windows were left open, and it'll also give you updates to your vehicle as well. So if, something happened, there's no gas in it, whatever, you will get updates saying you left your car unlocked or whatever it may be. It'll also tell you if there's any warnings for the vehicle and when your next service is due. So it is a very, very handy app, free for 3 years, and then after that it is a subscription that of course you can opt in or opt out of, but there's also different tiers. So if a certain function on it makes sense for you, you can see if it's on the lower tier. That way you save some monies. Who doesn't love that? I'll point out the ignition. So it is a push to start vehicle, which also means we have Hyundai Smart Key. The Smart Key essentially gives you not just a push to start, but also that proximity function for your tailgate, or your trunk, I should say, and then our doors. So allowing me to get in and out of the car without actually fishing for the key, and also automatically opening the rear trunk every time I walk up to the car. That's a function you either have to turn on or off. It is not typically on by default because it gets annoying here at the dealership, walking around cars so often with keys. We don't want those trunks to open all the time. Now let's take a look at the back seats and see where we're at for space and features. Now, of course, seating material will remain the same as what we had up at the front. So it's a leatherette seat with a nice perforated design. The seats themselves, a lot of people ask about leatherette and how it feels quality-wise. Does it feel plasticky or is it realistic? It is extremely buttery soft. It is very, very comfortable. The only downside of leather, leatherette, any of that type of material is come wintertime, they do get a little bit chilly. So they retain the cold a little bit more than a cloth seat would. And then of course, come summertime, they'll also be a little bit hotter. But all of those are things that you live with because they look nice and they feel nice, regardless. Wintertime, of course, you have the heated seats up at the front, so that kind of fights that argument. Along the back of our center console, we have 2 USB-Cs. Nice to see proper USB-Cs instead of the typical USB, so for faster charging. Behind our passenger seat, we'll have a mesh pocket. And then you may notice we do not have rear air vents, but we do have rear air ducts. Those will be for our heat ducts underneath the seats ahead of us. For the middle seat, if no one's sitting here, you can drop down the armrest and have access to a cup holder or a little nap station. That's what I used to do with my mom's sedan. Very comfortable, great to have this inclusion. Separates your passengers a little bit, but also gives you that added benefit of cup holders. The topic of holders, along the door card, there is a bottle holder on each side, as well as your window controls, and that same nice satin chrome door handle we saw on the front end of the vehicle. Now, I'm going to take a few minutes to see your guys' questions and discuss what we can expect for next year and when we will see a redesigned Elantra. So, the redesigned Elantra will not be a 2026. It'll be revealed in 2026, likely early in the year. I'm hoping, and sincerely hoping, that we might see it at the LA Auto Show in November, but no confirmation on that yet. Of course, if you guys haven't subscribed already, please do so. We will be attending that auto show towards the end of November, and of course, all our future ones too. Toronto will be in February, we'll be there, absolutely. So what we can expect. Number one, these are a few tech functions that I can almost guarantee will be in the next Elantra. That'll be our new gen software. It's called CCNC, Car Connected Navigation Cockpit. If you want to see comparatively what that looks like, check out the Kia K4. That vehicle was released all new as a redesigned model with it. That essentially will give us wireless CarPlay and Android Auto in a much more user-friendly interface. It also kind of mimics a smartphone in the way you can reconfigure the home screen, make it a little bit more and user-friendly. You can also expect to see things like a surround view monitor. So that was introduced on the Kia K4 as well, which will be the Elantra's direct competitor. Surround view monitor would be a first for this class vehicle in Hyundai's lineup, and I'm very excited to hopefully see that. Now, what the design would look like. Now, that will really depend on the trim line that you choose. I expect we will still get an N line and a proper N will follow. Just like what happened for the past Elantra N, it might be a year before the proper full N comes out, but an N line should be released with the return or the release of the 2027 model. That being said, it won't be dubbed a 2026, even though it's coming out in 2026. It'll be a 2027. That's when you will see your Elantra redesign. Redesign, not refresh. Now, what's the difference between a redesign and a refresh? Well, the Elantra went through a refresh in 2024. That's where we got LEDs in our introductory trim level, and we made some minor tweaks to the styling too. So the headlamp shape changed a little bit, as well as the rear end of the vehicle. Get a couple different options too. Sometimes they'll add on new colors, or sometimes even a new trim level, but mechanically the vehicle typically remains the same. Whenever we get a redesign, we'll get new power plant options. I would still love to see a hybrid, but that has not been confirmed. And I would still love to see an N-line, so our 1.6-liter turbo. That being said, the N-line will almost certainly no longer have a dual clutch transmission, and instead will probably have that 8-speed automatic that Kia put into the K4. So oftentimes what we can expect from Hyundai is what the Kia car currently has, or vice versa. Whichever car was redesigned first, the next model will follow. All right, you guys, let's see any specific questions from the audience. What car did Gabby's mom have where she used to sleep in her car? So the childhood car I remember the most was my mom's Kia Magentis. That was a sedan, and I'm a big believer in, if you have a family, you don't need an SUV. Maybe, yeah, if you have 6 or 7 kids, you might need a van or something bigger. You might need multiple vans. But if you have 1 or 2 kids, you'll probably still make do with a sedan. My mom did it. Me and my brother turned out fine. I'd like to think. Is Adam ready for another trunk test? I will not be locking him in that trunk with our hockey bag.
Yeah, no.
No. On the topic of hockey, I actually wanted to mention to you guys that Brantford Hyundai is a sponsor of the Brantford Bulldogs, which is our OHL team. And we actually have one of their star players coming to our Brantford Hyundai dealership October 25th. That's a Saturday. He'll be there to sign some hockey pucks. I believe it's first come, first serve for signing the hockey pucks. But I don't know much about sports, but this kid, he's got some skill. He's got some talent. So there's a lot of chatter within Brantford about him, positive, because he is an absolute rock star. So we're excited to see how he does throughout the season and just what's next for him, what's in the future for him. It's kind of why I brought the hockey bag here. A little shameless shout out for him, of course. And I would really love to do a video with the Santa Fe, because Brantford Hyundai does sponsor a Santa Fe vehicle, a proper SUV for the Brantford Bulldogs. They drive around with it. It's got a giant Brantford Bulldog sticker on it. Pretty cool. Very, very cool. Oh, and the player's name is Jake O'Brien. I think think he's only 18 or 19, so he's very much a kid. He's talented. It's like, well, I was not that talented at that age. Definitely not in sports, at least. The Cow Daily article clearly said the synthetic leather beats real leather hoof down. Absolutely. Those are the only sources I trust. Does my dad still play hockey? Recreationally, yes. He is by no means a professional hockey player. Wow, why are you so early today? We're gonna do 2 live streams today, making up for the fact that we were not here Monday or Tuesday. Will Charlotte be here on Halloween Friday? So I asked her if she would. She said most likely not, at least not for a video, but I will be here. I don't know what I'm gonna be for Halloween, but I will be here. Dual clutch is less complex than the 6-speed, but also the electrical system handles the low speed and the DCT engagement once the speed is up. So it handles the downside of DCTs perfectly. Yes, Glenn, I'm so happy you pointed that out. Dual clutch transmissions, they can get some flack online for being choppy or, overheating in stop and go traffic. When this vehicle is in a typical stop and go, it's going to, again, spend a lot of its time in electric mode. And what this vehicle has, rather than the average alternator, is a hybrid starter generator. So that will handle the startup of the vehicle instead of the typical 12 volt doing all the work or the alternator doing all the work. So that's where some of the downsides of a dual clutch transmission kind of get omitted by having the hybrid power plant. So great point. Thank you for mentioning that. Girl been wearing Sambas too much. I know. I had to change it up. Hyundai should gift Gabi an Ioniq 5N. She carries, y'all. Tell them that, you guys. Email Hyundai Canada. They won't do it, but just anything. I'll take a base model Venue. I need a car that doesn't cost $200 a week on gas. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. We hope to see you again on our later live stream today at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, if you're watching in the future, not as of right now, not today, we hope to see you in just future videos. We do these every single weekday at 2 p.m. or earlier sometimes, and we're your source for all things Kia and Hyundai. Hence the name Kia Hyundai channel. We love Ford. Anyway, bye-bye you guys. Thanks for watching.